Hello once again. Here we are winding this class down, and I thought since you're all seniors and moving out into the world of interviewing and jobs, not just jobs, positions. You can get a job about anywhere if you're willing to work hard these days, but it may not be the kind of a job that leads to a lifestyle you like. It could open doors to it, but that's what we would call a position. So yeah, even a job, working at Maverick, making sandwiches, running the cash register, stocking the shelves, could lead to a management position, which could lead to an upper management position. Yeah, there's a career track there, if that's the world you love. Or a job at a hotel, just working at the desk, could lead to a bigger hotel, position as a concierge, hotel management if you like. Or there's those positions that your degree is designed for. You just got your accounting degree, you can be an accountant. For communication majors, so that's a little more problematic, because what do we turn you into? Well, maybe PR, strategic comm, visual communication. You would work in, probably in advertising, or perhaps in film, but really comm majors, CST, communication majors, communication studies. We turn you into a very competent person, and you'll probably excel just about any place that you choose to go and find your way into. To get there, though, we have this thing called a job interview, which gets you in the door. Now, first thing, if you got the interview, if you've landed an interview, they've looked over your resume along with 80 others, and they've determined that you are one of the 3, 5, maybe 10 people is a little excessive. HR departments are stretched thin. They've determined that we want to know more about you because on paper you look good to us. And of course, nobody out there is falsifying your resumes, I hope. So on paper you are looking good, you do have the right experience, or you're trainable in their view. So you're not going into an interview to prove to them, to persuade them that I can do the job. They know that. What they're looking for is a work ethic, your personality, your fit with the organization. And so with that in mind, it's not about your skills at this point, it's about you as a person fitting in. With that in mind, all of a sudden, the nonverbals of the job interview take center stage. And you better get this part right, or you'll go through a whole bunch of interviews and maybe only get offered a job after everybody else has turned somebody down, and then you work there 3 months and you know why, and you're out of there also. You want a job, a position at a company that is pleasant to work at and has a future for you. So, first thing to do, number one, let's get this in mind also. Nonverbals are not a secret language. It's not like body language, and you can learn to read. It's like learning Spanish or Japanese. In fact, there are a lot of nonverbal facial expressions anyway that are universal, but most of them are culturally bound. But they do the following tasks. They repeat messages. They undermine your message or present a conflicting message, indicating sarcasm often, or sometimes indicating that somebody's not telling you the truth if you know what to read. They complement the message. They'll substitute for a message. They accent a message. They moderate communication patterns. They regulate conversations. We do all this non-verbally, and those are the primary functions. It's not a language. Getting good at nonverbals is what we call having good communication skills, because you may be pretty sharp and be able to actually articulate what you're thinking very clearly. But if your nonverbals are mismatched to the message, or inhibited, or you don't have you've been traumatized somehow in communication situations, your nonverbals just don't help you out, don't do all of these things that we need, and people think of you as a poor communicator, and that doesn't do well for getting a position. You should study these nonverbal skills. If you haven't taken a class from nonverbal communication, and it is one that I teach, and we have some other good teachers here that teach the same course, you should take that class before you leave college. If you're getting out, this is your last semester and you never took it, there's all kinds of good things on the internet, especially some TED Talks on nonverbals. They're usually from college professors or professional researchers, but even some of these magazine articles about 10 things not to do in a job interview. Hey, they have some good information there, and there's all kinds of interest in nonverbal communication out there in the wider culture. Just study it. Practice it is the main thing, though. Practice. And when I teach this class, I ask students to go out and do things, practice, and find out what happens as you expand your nonverbal skill set. All right, higher nonverbal skills translate into good academic achievement, but from there, good impressions on people in general, and greater success in your life and career and friendships and relationships, and you make more money, frankly, with good nonverbal skills. General attractiveness is a feature of nonverbals relevant to a job interview because attractive people are perceived as more intelligent and perceived as more competent. Hey, this is what the research says. I know it's wrong. People are wrong to do that to you. But on the other hand, there is much you can do to yourself to make yourself more attractive in that, whatever that classic sense is. You don't have to have the natural gifts. Just dressing nicely, having your hair cut in a way that complements your body type, coloring your hair perhaps in a way that complements your skin tone, dressing with the right colors for your skin tone. There's so much, and again, this is all kind of this common knowledge out there. If you get on the internet and read about it, or get some books and read about it, you get better jobs. Well, in fact, you get jobs in the first place when you're perceived as attractive, and you get better jobs, and you make more money. And this is the research. Again, I know this is wrong, but this is what the research says. You know, I've always been a skinny guy, 140 pounds all through high school, and long hair, long stringy wild hair for much of high school. And you know what, I found that when I cut my hair short and kept it styled, and I don't think there's anything wrong about long hair, it's just it tends to go with wild hair. When my hair wasn't so wild and was styled, all of a sudden I had more friends. And you know, girls in high school were more interested in me than while my hair was stringy and long. So I got into college, I started working out. I went from 140, I really pumped up to 155. That's not much, but when you have a thin frame like I do, it makes quite a difference just to have a little bit of muscle tone there. I was rooming with a weightlifter, a bodybuilder, and we ended up lifting weights together all the time and getting involved in gymnastics, and I got very strong. I never pumped up like he did because, you know, he just had a compact, shorter body type, and my bones are long. I can never get big biceps on these arms, but I can get them pretty strong. But my arms and shoulders looked better. I looked fit. I looked more healthier, and all that's important in the nonverbal impression you give to people. I also had more self-confidence. Started carrying myself a little bit taller, a little bit, my step was just a little bit more snap to it, I guess. I don't know. All of it matters. It shouldn't matter, but it does. And we have to deal with that when trying to land a position. Here's a few photographs of me over the years, and I clean up pretty well, but I've got a suit that I wear to job interviews. It's the same suit for about 3 different important events in my life, all pictured here. And actually I've lost about 40 pounds since getting the suit, thanks to a better diet and thanks to losing a lot of stress out of my life. I probably need a new one or need to have this one taken in a bit to look a little trimmer. But I don't spend a lot of money on clothes, but I do have the right clothes for the right situation, and I suggest you do the same. We'll talk more about that in a minute. First, a word about tattoos. The general consensus out there again is that, well, first of all, 1 in 5 people have a tattoo, and in some fields, you know, 1 out of 3 people have had a tattoo. We did a hand raising in class, and nearly a third of the class had a tattoo somewhere. But I looked around the class and I couldn't see them anywhere, and so I think everybody in our class has been putting their tattoos in places that are normally covered by professional clothing. And that seems to be the key, and it seems to be what even some tat aficionados prescribe is be careful, though. You don't want those tattoos on your neck and your face and the back of your hands. Keep them where you can appreciate them with your friends when you're off work. But when you go to work, they can be covered if you choose. There are some professions that it's not an issue. As many as 1 in 3 people in those professions have visible tattoos. And so the culture is changing, but it's changing very slowly, and here we are today. In 10 years, what I'm saying here may be irrelevant, but it's not irrelevant yet. What is the image that you have? What is the tat? Is it an artistic image on your arm like the guy in the pic? Is it a picture of a naked person, or is it a skull and all kinds of wild dragon-like, demonic-like images of creatures? There are some wild tats out there, and there are others that are just, I saw somebody with a flower yesterday tattooed on her shoulder. That makes a difference. These things do make a difference. And remember, we've talked about who you really are. And we have determined, I hope, in this class that you recognize that you are who you want to construct yourself into within a range. I can never be a professional athlete. But within a range, I can be a lot of different kinds of people. And in fact, we all play different roles every day of the week. Some people shifting roles 10, 20 times a day with slightly different roles, kind of coming out of a general personality we've developed. But you're not getting a tattoo to express who you really are to people, your essence. We're not essentialists. You're getting a tattoo that creates you and supports that persona when you choose to play it. So location is important, the image is important. Here's my personal word about tattoos, and it's wrapped up in the German word kitsch. We use kitsch in English. It's actually German for junk. We use it to mean cheesy, inappropriate, just something laughable that tries to pass itself off as art. It's called low art as opposed to high art. Very few tattoo artists are doing high art these days. They're doing designs. They're doing things other people have designed who aren't necessarily great artists either. And remember, I come from a family of artists. I have been immersed in it my whole life, and I recall my father, the artist, and his artist buddies laughing about kitsch art and holding up things and looking at it and laughing at it, that it was so garish. And they thought it was funny, and I got the joke. It made sense to me. And I could look at that and say, yeah, that somebody with a lot of technical talent worked very hard on this, but they did the wrong thing. It's the wrong image. It's something that's very pop culture here and now, and in 50 years we'll look at that as a curiosity. And even like the leg lamp in that famous Christmas movie, that's kitsch art. Far too many tattoo artists are only capable of doing kitsch art, and frankly, I don't want somebody else's junk art tattooed on my body forever. I'll keep my skin the way it is, thank you. I am 57, by the way, so take all that with a grain of salt, and I do recognize that culture is changing. Clothes and jewelry. Dress appropriate for the job that you're interviewing for. Perhaps dress up a little bit, but at least dress the way they will expect you to dress when you are at that organization. And you may have to do a little bit of research on this, talk to some people, hey, read some websites, but dress nicely, dress up a little bit so you're actually dressing down for work. That's probably okay. Remember, you're making an impression on somebody, and you want them to know that you take them seriously. Your clothes should be in style. You should dress with the right colors that fit your skin tone, yet also, hey, why not wear a shirt that's got the same colors as the company or the organizational logo? I wore a blue shirt when I interviewed for this job at NAU. I don't know that that made the difference, but among the 20 or 30 things that the people on the interview committee noticed that sunk in subconsciously, non-verbally, I had the right color shirt. It would have been wrong to wear red and gold, Arizona State's colors, to a job interview at Northern Arizona University. And it would have been noticed. And you do enough things wrong, you don't get the job. Somebody else does, even though you're qualified. They're qualified too. Everybody getting an interview is qualified. This is about impression. I don't think I recommend brand new clothes. If you're gonna get some new shoes and have a good pair of shoes, wear them around a while, get them to fit your feet. You don't want your feet to be hurting the day you show up for the interview because you have new shoes that you shouldn't have bought. Brand new suit, brand new professional clothing of whatever type it is, just make sure that those creases in your shirt are ironed out before you take it in. Probably put it through the wash once, wear it once, get it looking new, good and solid, but not right off the rack like you went and bought a set of clothes for the interview. That doesn't communicate what you want to communicate. You're trying to be your best self for this person and have clothes that you are comfortable in and that aren't odd and ill-fitting. We'll back up. Same thing about jewelry. I'd keep it to a minimum. Jewelry is for going out, perhaps, not necessarily for work. All right, posture. Hey, we can all have better posture, right? This is kind of a no-brainer. I shouldn't have to speak too much about this, but you can't walk into the job interview thinking, good posture, good posture, good posture. You have to practice it and change your habits and develop good posture as a person. Let that be part of the professional you that is going to be out there in the world of work. All right, a word about meta messages. If you look up meta messages in the dictionary or online somewhere, it will say it's a message within a message or a message about a message. That's not a good way to think of it. This is nonverbal communication, and meta messages are messages that happen that determine two things. They indicate power and status differences between us, and they help us manage how good of friends we are, how close we are. And we typically do these two things. We establish or settle our status within a group through meta messages, and we manage the depth of our relationships through meta messages. Sometimes with relational depth, we'll state something directly. But if somebody says, hey, you want to go get a cup of coffee at break time and chat? They'll just say get a cup of coffee. The talk part is understood, right? That's a meta message that, hey, I'm interested in being a little bit better friends with you. If it's there's a hint of romance perhaps hanging around, it doesn't mean that this person is into you and wants a relationship. It means they're open to it and they'd like to get to know you a little bit better. There's always people that are propositioning others all the time, but they usually come right out and say it. Most of us, normal people, just say, hey, you want to go get a cup of coffee? You want to go get lunch today? And what we're indicating is, I'd like to be better friends. And later on, you might want to have a dinner date. Later on, you might want to spend more time together. Each of these sends a meta message. We don't often come right out and say, I'm very interested in you as a person. I'm looking for somebody to share my life with. I'm looking for a best friend. Will you be my best friend? Some people do that, and some people appreciate the honesty. But if you read meta messages well, there's a lot of that goes on that we just get. And when somebody wants to spend time with you, it's because they enjoy your company and would like more of it. When somebody doesn't call, sends a meta message that, hey, we're just kind of backing off. You didn't get the call to go to somebody's birthday party. If it doesn't come next week with a profuse apology, and I'll make it up to you, I still love you, then it's a meta message that, I would just kind of like to see our friendship back off to more of the acquaintance level. Power and status. We indicate, and I was in the electricians union for a lot of years, and this was very clear, power and status. Who gets to choose among all the 5 guys assigned to one big, giant, heavy work task? Who directs the work and who does what they're told to do? And we communicate all that through meta messages. And if the young guy mouths off a little bit and says, hey, I think we should rig this 4-ton piece of equipment this way, one of the older journeymen will look over and say, we'll decide that, and somebody might, or they'll just ignore. The meta messages when they just ignore his suggestion, and if he gets it, he'll shut his mouth. Not often would we ever have to go to a younger person and say, you're the new guy here, you have less experience in the trade, you just follow our lead on things. If you have to say that to somebody, the meta message process kind of broke down. They're flying over somebody's head, and I've had my share of meta messages fly over my head, and it can be embarrassing, but you know, when somebody has to say it, but you just, you know, find your place in the pecking order, so to speak. We all have those at work. Male and female gender doesn't matter as much in the workplace, though some workplaces are more egalitarian and other workplaces are very hierarchical. We communicate this all with meta messages and those subtle little things. Somebody dressing up for work just a little bit more than usual because they know a manager's quitting and that post will be open. They're sending a message to the bosses that I want to step up in the hierarchy, I want that position. There's a thousand ways this happened, but you watch for this. Watch people around you and look for what they're communicating about status, about relational level. The messages are there all the time, and we need to become better at reading those. All right, handshakes. I talked about this in several of my classes, but with a handshake, you want the right grip. I learned how to give handshakes playing golf one day when I was 15. Shook hands with everybody in the foursome. We all went to the public course alone, and they put us all in a foursome together, and you get to know each other and you talk, and you're friends for the day, for the afternoon. And I'm walking down the first fairway, and this tall guy that just teed off with, he came over to me and walked beside me and said, "Hey, I need to tell you something. You need to learn how to shake hands. Here, shake my hand." I put out my hand again. He says, No. Give me a good squeeze. Just grip my hand tightly, and you let me know you're there, that you're a real person on the other end. And he taught me that a good firm handshake is what is expected in this world, in this culture. Male or female, you need to have a good strength. You don't want to crush somebody's hand, but you want a nice firm handshake. That guy did me a really big favor. And I haven't been giving people the limp fish handshake my whole life, but a nice, strong, firm handshake. The length of the handshake needs to be just right. What? 2 seconds, 3 seconds at most? Long. If you do something longer than that, you're sending a meta message, you're sending some nonverbal message that's indicating we're getting into a deeper relationship here than we initially thought. But the length is important, and making direct eye contact while you're shaking hands. Hey, I assign some of my students this, in nonverbal communication especially, and in organizational comm. Go out, shake the hands of 10 people, and make notes of the strength, their length, and how much eye contact, and your impression of that person. And that's what you'll see. A good firm handshake, not a bone crusher, with the appropriate length, and good straightforward eye contact. Look you right in the eye. And you better learn how to give that kind of handshake. Practice it. It's easy. You can do this. Okay, be yourself in interviews. Of course, you are constructing your professional self here as you go through college and begin your professional life. Construct the professional you are going to be in terms of how you dress, your posture, how you carry yourself, how you interact with people. Be the professional and practice it. Be your best self. Dress up for the interviews. Get your hair styled by somebody good. Somebody who looks chic and in style themselves and can know what fits your personality. Better to pay more for a haircut than have to get a haircut twice and get shorter hair than you wanted. So make sure you've got somebody good. If it's at an inexpensive haircutting place, there are some really good people that work there. There are some not so good people. A more expensive salon, you'll probably get a good haircut every time. Find the same person that knows how to cut your hair. Find somebody to help you dress yourself. If you're not good with clothes, get a best friend or somebody. Here, you always look sharp. There was a kid when I was in 7th grade, sharpest kid in the school. I bet that guy today always looks sharp. He just knew how to match clothes. And found out much later that he shoplifted most of his clothes from Kmart. But that's besides the point, right? He knew how to dress. I didn't, and I still don't know how to dress, and I take my wife's suggestions on a lot of things. I let her pick my shirts and my ties. All right, be your best self. And if you're nervous in an interview, it's okay. That's a compliment to the person that's interviewing you. It tells them, I'm taking this seriously, and I'm trying to do my best here, and I really want this to go well. And they know that. So it's okay to be nervous. And that'll help you relax a little bit. And it's okay to tell them, you know, I'm a little bit nervous today, especially if you know it's showing and you're literally shaking or making mistakes with what you say. Just, I'm sorry, I'm a little nervous. And go forward with the interview, and they'll try to set you at ease. But it's a compliment to them if you feel nervous. If you're giving a speech to a group of people and you're honest and, wow, I'm really nervous up here, everybody sympathizes. It's a compliment to your audience that you take them seriously and you want to do well. So don't let it rattle you. It is what it is. You're nervous because it's serious and you're serious. And that's what we all want. And that will actually help you relax, but you'll have the advantage of adrenaline going on that helps you think faster and be a little bit more creative. Okay, thanks a lot for watching. I hope this practical advice helps. Get out there and read what's on the internet, on some reputable websites about how to prepare for job interviews. There are forums out there with specific companies, with people that work there, giving advice about how to get a job with that company. And do your research, and the information's out there good. You're a college grad now. You know when you've got some bad info and need to look past it and go to another site. But the thing is, study this and start practicing your posture, your handshakes. Get a nice wardrobe appropriate and start making yourself into the best you, the you that you want to be, the professional you. Create that person and build yourself into that, an extension of the personality you've always had, but it's somebody that another employer is just happy to hire and is looking for. Thanks a lot. We'll talk to you later.